All right, y'all. Happy Friday,
Happy
TGIF.
Friday.
It's another
Happy
episode,
Friday.
of Real Chill Conversations. We're still waiting for one more. Here she go. Nat Moss is in the
Bam, bam,
building.
bam.
Hey, ladies.
Hey, Natalie.
Hey,
How y'all
Natalie.
feeling?
Hey Nat. Hey
Great.
Nat.
Can't complain. It's Friday.
Happy Friday.
Hey, woo! We made it.
Yes,
Yes.
we did. We sure did.
Yes, we made it.
Cheers to that.
How was y'all's week?
Well, mine. I was in Jacksonville. I was in Florida, so I literally just got back and had my last appointment yesterday. But then I have to turn around and I have to go back in like a week and a half. But I mean, it is what it is. We're gonna get stuff worked out. They figuring it out. But I'm here. So I mean that's a blessing.
You're
I can
feeling
still be there.
okay?
I'm having my moments, but I just, I prioritize what's important and I take my time. So I was like, let me rest up, let me, get a little something in my tummy and not be tired. I took a nice good shower, so I'm nice and relaxed, so I could be here present tonight. Because I was like, maybe I won't turn my camera on, but then I was like, I felt like tonight's topic, it was really important. I'm very expressive with my facial expressions, so y'all don't want to miss. Don't want to miss those reactions. So I said, let me get it together so I can turn my camera on for tonight as we get into our
Right.
conversation. So, yep,
Girl, you are one tough cookie.
hanging in there.
What are y'all having going? What do y'all got going on for the weekend? Anything interesting?
Well, for me, my son's school has homecoming, so they started activities today, and they did like a little march through the school with all the football players. So he kept sending me videos and stuff of what it was like, to have everybody like on the sidelines, like cheering for them and cheering for the team and shouting "Go Cougars!" They're doing really well. His team is doing awesome. He's doing great, so he's really excited about it. So tomorrow, we'll see. It kind of kicks off the whole little parade, and they're doing like a little brunch and like some food and all that kind of stuff. And then they have a game. So that's pretty much it. I mean, that's going to
Nice.
pretty much absorb all of my energy for doing anything else over the weekend. So I'm just going to make sure that I go to that. And then everything else for me is probably going to just be low key chill, editing stuff,
That's
researching
exciting.
stuff, reading. Yeah, that's that. But that's it. That's all I got.
Okay. Action packed. Has he started his games already, or are they just still
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the?
He's already
Okay.
they've started their games already, and they've won all of their games so far. They've played 4 games so far, and then they had a scrimmage that they weren't counting again. It wasn't going towards their stats. And then one game they canceled the game because everyone was scared about the COVID numbers going up. And then the following week, they decided that they were going to resume the schedule. They were just going to take further COVID precautions and protocols. So yeah, they're knee deep. They're knee deep into it. I mean, this boy has practice in the morning. They do morning conditioning. Then he has his regular classes. Then at the end of the day, when he's done with school, he still has practice, and doesn't finish his day until like 7 o'clock, between 7 o'clock and 7:30. So it's a long day for him. Long, long day for him. But he loves what he's doing. He's enjoying it. So
That's
that's
what
what's
matters, huh?
important, you know?
Right? Amazing. All right.
Hmm.
Well, tonight's show is definitely going to be an interesting one. Something that we need to talk about because I don't feel like it gets as much notoriety and in depth conversations talked about this specific topic, which is generational curses. So before we get into it, everybody that's watching, we need y'all to like, comment, and subscribe to not only our YouTube channel, but our Instagram as well. Like every picture. I mean, we are not going to think you're a weirdo if we get 40 notifications coming into our Instagram. We need y'all to like every picture, drop a flame 100 because we are talking some real shit right here, okay? So tonight with generational curses, I want to start off talking about um one that I can resonate with, which is education and college, especially. Being one of the first in my family to graduate from an actual like 4-year university, I went into it not knowing a lot of things from the loans and just the Hope Scholarship and just living on campus, commuting when I moved off campus, and just a lot of things with the accreditation and all that good stuff. I was at Georgia State for 4 years, and that's where I started. That's where I graduated from. But being that I was one of the first, I couldn't go to my aunts and just ask them like, hey, what was your experience, because they didn't go to a major college or university. Both of my parents, they went to community college in Connecticut, which is, you know, a small town. So it definitely wasn't the same back in the 80s as it was back in 2009, 2010, 2000, all that good stuff. So I want to ask you guys, like, when it comes to higher education, like, do y'all feel like maybe I should have had a mentor that wasn't in my family? Or like, how would y'all have handled that situation? I know Georgia State, we had a lot of different resources there on campus for, you know, freshmen and everybody that was, you know, easily accessible. But at the same time, it's kind of like I wanted to figure it out on my own and just, you know, have my own experience, my own college experience. But what do you guys like? What would y'all have recommended for me to have done in that situation?
Wow, Nat, I mean, I think first of all, kudos to you for taking the steps and even if a lot of it was having to figure some of it out on your own, to get you to the point of being able to get into school and actually obtain a 4-year degree. I mean, I think that's incredible. That's amazing. I come from a little different set of circumstances. It's weird in a way because on my dad's side of the family, so my first of all, my parents, my mom and dad met at college, so they met in college, and
Oh, nice.
they were both studying biology. My mom's a Delta. My dad didn't pledge any fraternities, but my mom was definitely into that sorority life. So she's a Delta. My dad's sister also went to 4-year college. She's AKA. They did have that battle, like, okay, Brenna, what you gonna do? Which one you gonna pick? Um, when it was time for me to go to
Right.
school. So I didn't have that. We don't know what to do. And it was already by the time my mom, I guess, found out I was pregnant, she was pregnant with me, was that, okay, this girl is going to be going to college and is going to be getting her degree. But from my mom's side of the family, I mean, my mom is not only the first to graduate from college, but she's the first to graduate from high school. My mom's mom had to drop out of school when she was in the 8th grade. Mind you, she's, her mother had just passed away. They're living in rural Virginia, working a farm. And my grandmother was the oldest of, all of her brothers and sisters. And she needed to be there to take care of what needed to be taken care of. But my mom did have a mentor when she was in middle school and when she was in high school that was helping her and guiding her with what she needed to do in order to put out her college applications and what kind of activities she needed to be involved in, and how does the student loan thing work, and what does that mean, and how does that all happen. So I come from, two parents that went to college, they met there and all of that. So, I mean, education is huge in my household. And it's not only did my dad, go and his sister, but my grandmother went. Her grandmother went. I mean, we're talking Tuskegee times and Booker T. Washington times. So there's a lot of significant history on that side of the family. But then there's that side that are like, I mean, nobody told us. I mean, you get to eighth grade, you can, long as you can read and write and do the basic fundamentals. When you out here in the country working on a farm, like, what do you need to know? X minus Y, X for chemistry, all these different things. So in your situation, Nat, I would definitely say that I think mentorship is very important and is key. And it was always my understanding that that was the whole purpose of having guidance counselors in school. But I didn't have a good guidance counselor. I didn't have a guidance counselor that really listened to the things that I was interested in, the career paths that I was interested in focusing on. It was basically like, just pick a school and then figure it out from there. And to me, that's not mentorship. That's not really leading in any type of way. So I do think it's important. I think if we have mentorship, especially for our young women and men that may not have someone in their family that they can talk to about these types of things, these resources should be readily available. And I thought that was part of what the guidance counselors in school were for, but that doesn't seem to be the case in all states, in all situations.
That's right. That's very true. I feel like mentorship is good just in general. Like, even if it's not for college and for school, I feel like, young people definitely should have somebody that they can turn to just to, talk and gain experience and gain knowledge from. You're right. So another topic I also wanted to bring up, while we're talking generational curses, is just unhealthy relationships. Not saying like boyfriend, girlfriend, marriage, but just relationships in general and how you deal with other people. Do y'all feel like that would be a generational curse, is that's being passed down, like how you treat other people in general?
I think so. I'm there because I had a very detailed conversation not too long ago with my mom and with my sister, and we were talking about what it was like growing up. And so, a quick story time I'll share with y'all. My mom's parents decided to split um, when my mom left, when she graduated high school and when she left to go to college. So when she was no longer going to be in the household, they decided to go their separate ways. They never officially filed paperwork and did the whole thing to get an actual divorce, but they began living separate lifestyles. And really, like, for my grandmother, that just meant her keeping to herself, going through her routine, going to church, and that was it. For my grandfather, that was just him, doing his thing. He was a handsome dude. I mean, there's not much more I can say about that. He was a handsome dude, light skin, light eyes, curly hair. He was a good looking dude. And he was very flirtatious. I remember being a kid and like going to the store, going to the mall with him, and he, would be doing his little thing and da 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 da. But as a kid, I didn't realize when we would go to visit my grandparents, I didn't realize that we were going to grandma's house and we were going to grandpa's house. Because when we went to grandma's house, grandpa was there. And when we went to and vice versa, the other party was always there. I just thought it was dope that we had two houses to go to. But the reason we had two houses to go to is because they had separated and they were living separately. And so when my mom and my sister and I were all talking and having our conversation, it was like there's not really one scenario that we can think about of any of the older relationships that were actually successful. It's like, well, Aunt Phil and Uncle Phil and Aunt Linda, that like they divorced, right? And we're like, no, didn't know that. And so all these relationships and marriages were broken or had ended, and nobody wanted to share that information. Nobody wanted to let anybody know. They wanted to keep it private. And I don't understand that. I don't understand what the reasoning was for that. But for me, I think with my parents' own decision to finally get divorced. When my parents finally decided to get divorced, it was when I was leaving to go to college. When I was finally getting out of the house. So my mom, in a sense, was repeating the same pattern of behavior that she had experienced because she thought that that was the right thing to do. You just wait until the kids get grown and they get out of the house, and then you make your decisions, and then you move on. So it's definitely, I feel like, a generational aspect to it, especially when you have seen it and you're exposed to that behavior. That behavior is normal to you because it exists in your family and no one's questioning it. It just is what it is. It just is what it is, unfortunately. And I think we need to recognize that if you're not in a good relationship, if the person that you're married to, if your marriage is not working and it's not successful, let's not just stay in it until the kids graduate from high school and it's time for them to go on to college. Because, I said y'all could have split a long time ago and we would have been cool because it would have been a lot less tense in the household.
Brenna, can I say something?
Absolutely.
Can you hear me? I think back in the day, it was frowned upon for people to get a divorce. Um, I think a lot of them, they wanted to have their families together and keep their families together. Even if you go all the way back, slavery days, the families were separated. The father was taken from the home. So I think when they had the opportunity to keep a family together, they wanted to keep the family together to at least till the kids were grown and out the house. I could be wrong, but that's how I viewed it because like my grandparents, they never divorced. It was death to them apart. My grandmother passed first, then my grandfather passed after her. So I just feel like the reason why your parents or your grandparents probably waited until you were 18 because they didn't want to have that image of, oh, I'm breaking up a home, or oh, my husband is leaving me to raise this child by myself. Back then there were men that were just stepping up to the plate to be there until they were 18 to help financially with the kids, and then maybe common nowadays. So, like I said, I just really feel like it was a fear of getting a divorce, being talked about, being ashamed, um, especially in the Black community. I see more whites that will stick through it longer than African American people will. So that's all I wanted to say.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yes, we can.
Yep.
Okay. Um, so yes, I agree with that. Natalie, yeah, going back to what you say, I don't think it's just family. When it comes to generational curses, it could be like friends, close, people next to you, like people real close to you. Growing up, it was like going to school, coming back home, and just going back to school. And as long as I was doing everything right in school, it wasn't a problem. So I feel like that was one of the things that I didn't want to continue the pattern of um, when I had children. So generational curses can be broken as long as you make that decision. I mean, I don't think anyone can make that decision for you. Like, you really have to make that change. And yes, it comes in patterns of what you're used to, what you were used to. So I don't think a lot of people pay attention to it either. I hope y'all can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you, Dominique, and that is so true because I know growing up, I I did get spankings, whoopings, however you want to call it, and I remember saying, "Oh, I'm not going to whip my kids like that. I'll discipline them another type of way because I didn't like how that felt when it happened to me." So what I try to do is first, I try to talk to my kids, get an understanding of where their head is before I really go hard on the discipline. But spanking is like the very last step I will do for my children because I know how I felt when it happened. I know how it felt, how I felt afterwards, and I felt like my mother didn't love me, even though she did. But just I think just how they were raised, because my parents were raised. You have to whip your kids. You have to whip your kids. That's the only way you can get through them is whipping them, whipping them. And it's not. You can actually sit down and have an intelligent conversation with your children to see what's going on. Your child may have a bad day at school. You may not know it because you're so quick to want to whoop them because they may have a bad grade instead of understanding why this child is receiving the bad grade. Why is this child showing out at school? You just never know what they're going through in their own personal life. So I agree with you, Dominique, that generational curses could be anything, not just in dating or marriages. It can be with your children as well, how you're raising your children as well.
Very, very good points on that one.
It's also
Toxic.
spiritual as well.
Oh, talk about it.
Spiritual curses can also be transferred. But that is like very unique subject because like you wouldn't know exactly. You would know, like, my faith is in God. So let's just say me, because to break the spiritual side of the generational curses, I'm sorry, y'all, I turned to God. So he's the only one that could do it. Like in my family, my case, that's who I turned to help me with that. I'll
Yeah,
be back.
I think what Dominique was saying is I can second that notion, and the understanding that yes, there are also spiritual curses as well, and I think that's certainly something that we can get into and talk about in detail, maybe on a different episode. But just sticking within the parameters of generational curses and bloodlines, and then things that are, are we passing things down just on the basis of, what our familial relationships are we passing things down, with the nature versus nurture, the
Hmm.
studies that they do with, people that have the exact same DNA, but let's say there's a set of identical twins, right? And they're put up for adoption, but both aren't adopted. One goes to one family and one goes to another family. They have the exact same DNA, but they're raised in different environments. They're raised in different households. They're raised with different beliefs, different levels of affection and attention and things like that. And then you really wind up with two completely different people, even though genetically they're the same. Um, that nature versus nurture conversation comes in because you can you can encourage behaviors, you can correct behaviors, and you can change behaviors. I truly believe through the nurturing aspect of it. Just because your nature was that you were born to parents addicted to crack, doesn't mean that you can't graduate from Harvard, you know, that you can't go on and accomplish tremendous things and live an outstanding life, you know, contributing to society. And that's a huge debate for a lot of people. They don't believe in the nature versus nurture. They just think you get what you get, and that's it. And I don't agree with that. I don't believe that that's
Oh,
just it. I don't think it's just cut and dry like that.
oh, Brenna, I'm so glad you took it there because, honey, when I tell you people try to make excuses for why they are the way they are, and it's like all I can say is that it's an excuse because a lot of times when you see something you that's not beneficial, you want to stay as far from it as you can stay. But a lot of
Exactly.
people
Can I
try to
say?
use the excuse like, oh, I never had an example like this. So I don't know I can't miss what I never had, or I can't miss what I don't know. But it's like, well, you know that if it's the wrong thing or the wrong train of thought or the wrong way to live, then you should want to find a path for of your own.
And that's what all of us, some people would think, Natalie. But honestly, you do also have people out there who had parents and they didn't know. They didn't know any better either. So now you're bringing children into the world. You don't know any better. They think that what you're doing is okay. And they never had no one to teach them, hey, that's not okay. So now when they're all grown up, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes we can say there's not an excuse, but then again, what role model did they have in their life? Like they could have actually be thinking that they're right.
I see it both ways. I see it where you're coming from, Dominique, where you're saying that a person may not actually know what they're doing. But then I see it also from Natalie, where Natalie's like, okay, you didn't come from a good background, but why won't you be the change? Why won't you be the first in your family to be the one to stand up and say, you know
But who
what?
would be the
I'm
one to tell them they didn't come from a good background? How would you know if that was a good background or not in their parents' eyes?
well, most people they feel it in their hearts. And what I mean by that is if you see your mother, for instance, hitting a child a certain way, and you're like, I didn't like that, you know that's not really coming from a good background because you felt it in your heart. And I'm just using this as an example. Um, Even the lifestyle. If you're living in a one bedroom apartment with six kids and your mom is working three jobs, you're saying, I don't want to live like this. I don't want to live like my mom. Let me be the first one to make the change and do it differently than my mother. Let me be the one to get the four-bedroom, three bath house with the white picket fence and not having to work three jobs to provide. Let me be the one to save my body for
Right.
my husband where he
Yeah.
can treasure me. So you have to be the first one to stand up. You have to look at your lifestyle, how you are when you're a child, for then how you're going to be when you're an adult. And you have to be the one to make that change if you want to, because everybody, we all have a free will in life,
Mm.
you know? So we have to make that choice by having a free will. What are we going to do when we get older? We just can't say, oh, my parents did this and my father did this. My father abandoned me. My
No, not
father
only
left me.
that, not
Hmm.
only that, but it's some people, even when you have people that just say, hey, your children will never prosper. Did you know that was a generational curse? I mean,
That is Dominique,
when you're speaking
but
stuff
that's when
like
you
that into
say,
people,
but that's when you say, when somebody tells you that, tell you that you're not going to prosper, that's when you go back and you change it around and you speak life over your child and you say, my children will prosper. I am going to prosper. The power is in the tongue. You can speak life over
I
yourself
understand that.
and
And
your
I'm glad
children.
that you're telling people that because some people really don't know that. And I mean, I could sit here and say that some people do know that. And no, some people don't. And some people are lost in this world. So, yeah, I mean, definitely speak on it because
Yes.
when you're having constantly negative things said to you, or even the evil eye, because I believe in that too. That's negative witchcraft.
Yes, it's negative energy. I agree with you, Dominic. It is negative energy that's coming thrown at you. You know, people can wish bad on you all day and wish for you to have a bad downfall in life. But that's when every day, and we're going to go back to the beginning, the very beginning when we had our very first podcast about having self love and self care and affirmation speaking over you. You have to speak life over yourself when you see somebody that's speaking bad over you. You
Preach.
have to, you see what I mean? Like if you feel their energy, say, you know what, I'm not going to entertain that. They want me to fall. I'm not going to fall. I am prosperous. I am abundance. I am love. I am rich. And you wake up every day and you start speaking life over you. And I promise you, you're going to see your life succeed in every single way. And if you notice, all your enemies, all the people that talk bad about you, where are they at now? Where are they at now? You see, I always tell people God is going to prepare a table before your enemies. Watch. He's
And
preparing a table.
um this is like I came through, like, my background is kind of crazy, but I always kept my mind focused, and I'm blessed enough to have a strong mind. Like, it's a lot of things that I didn't let get to me. It's a lot of things that I have accomplished in my life that I'm very proud of, that people told me that I would never be able to do. So you do have to have a strong mind to be able to get past those things. So, but there are people whose minds are not very strong and will let stuff like that get them down. But like Edwina is saying, you have the power in your tongue.
And that's where I feel like you have the blend of, okay, your background, your circumstances, the situation in which you're in, is not the best. Let's say you're not at the level of y'all need to be removed from the home and that type of situation, but you just come from a situation where it's just been how it's been. And for the last 25, 35 years, you've watched your grandparents and your aunts and uncles put in, you know 90 hours a week at their corner market and grocery store, because that's just what they do. They work very hard, and they spend a lot of time at their job and trying to bring in income and trying to make money, and they're not really there to help you with your algebra assignment or your chemistry assignment, or support you when you have the opportunity to go on a field trip to different schools to start thinking about, what career path do you want to get in. They don't have time because they're managing the business that brings in the income, and that income that's being brought in is very minimal, and that income also has to stretch not just between two people and four people, but it might be 10, 12, 14, 16 folks that gotta make it off of that money. So while they're not no one's being beaten, no one's being mistreated, they're just not getting the time and the attention and the um, continued direction of, hey, you want to work real hard, you want to study for this, you want to go to these programs, you want to, hey, there's an opportunity for you to talk to these different mentors, hear from these young ladies and gentlemen, and hear their backgrounds and hear how they made it into school and how they got a full scholarship, or how they don't have all this student loan debt, or because they got into certain programs they're able to pay for school, and then the school is contributing, and then it's costing very little money for the family to send that member to school. It's not always the worst of the worst situations. It is a lot of times people just trying to make it, and they're just trying to make it in the way that they know how. So if for 30 years they've been running the corner market, people depend on them for that corner market because that's where they need their milk and everything else in their supplies. And if that takes time because the truck's got to be unloaded and you got to get the groceries and you got to get it stocked and you got to get it loaded, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith from around the corner, like, they don't have the money right now, you might be like, okay, we got you next time, but knowing that you've got your own household to take care of. So that's one of those situations where people are doing the best that they can with what they have, but it's also all that they know. All that they know is that they've seen for years and years and years their grandma, their grandpa, their aunt, their uncle, even them as kids go and they work in the store. And then whenever they have time, then they might sit down and have a meal together and eat. They may work in attending, church services or what have you, but there just may not be time for anything else. So you might not have those kids playing soccer and softball and football and all these extracurricular activities because there's no one to support them in doing that and to take them there because they're busy working, and it's to take care of their family.
Ain't that the truth? Okay. I'm loving the dialogue tonight. Y'all are really preaching.
Yes, Brenda, I
Another
think that you're right in that too. So it's the generational curses really is a really deep hole, you know,
It is a
and
whole, exactly,
it's
a
it's
whole.
really deep. It
Yes.
goes really deep. And I think what you were speaking on, it's like a systematic issue as well. So it kind of prevents people from sometimes breaking certain things in their life, in their children's life, in their children's life. So I like that because yeah, you're right.
And it's great, I think, when you have a situation like
Yeah.
that and you have a family that has, built their history and their legacy on working hard.
Mm.
But then there's, a child or children within that family that recognize, hey, I come from, my work ethic is crazy, because it's built in me, because since I was 4 years old I've been stocking store shelves and, helping my grandmother, put out produce and all these different things. But they don't want that for me. They don't want me to have to work 80, 90 hours a week to support my family. They want me to be able to pursue something that I've chosen, because in the prior situation, in that family situation of the 25, 35 years of working this, family market, nobody had a choice. It was just, we
Yeah.
got to do it because it needs to be done. But now there's choices, and it's like, oh, okay, honey, we don't want that for you. We want you to be able to make a decision and you to be able to choose what kind of path that you would like to go down. What would you like to study? Are you into the arts? Are you into science? Are you into math? Or is it technology? What are the things that you're interested in? And then let's find you the support that you need, whether it's through mentorship or whether it's through the school or the guidance counselor or whatever. But let's get you in the right position so that you're able to make the decisions and move forward, with that aspect. And you're not yet again another generation of having to do what you're having to do just because there's nothing else available that you know of.
And I feel like we definitely need some more mentorship. I feel like if parents are not able to do it for so and so reason, I feel like other people should step in that's close to you. Um, so yeah, I also wanted to mention. I'm glad Edwina is back in here because, like I said, the generational curses go through. is like is a non ending subject, but I mean it can also, I was reading that it can also come from, like, if a person is sterile or stillbirth, disabled, death, prison, um, substance abuse, poverty, depression. It's a lot.
Yeah. Now that is true when you talk about people that are on alcohol, have alcohol problems.
Hmm.
If you see your mother having a drinking problem, you may have a drinking problem. So I totally agree with you on that, Dominique, about it's through your bloodline. Um, Even the smallest thing, heck, lying. If you see your parents lying, you could
Yeah.
be a liar. It's through your bloodline. I'm even reading about narcissist people. That's a
Yeah.
whole nother topic by itself. You may have a parent that's like schizophrenia and all that, and schizo, and it could be passed down. You just don't know it. Depression, like you said, Dominique, your parents depressed, their parents are depressed. You wonder why you're depressed when it comes to certain things. Even being sick. They always ask you when you go to the doctor's office, does your parents have high cholesterol, high blood pressure? Does cancer run in your family? Because it's passed down through the bloodline. So generational curses is passed down through actually our bloodline. And
Hmm.
really, we don't even know it until we get sick. And then we have to call mom, like, hey, mom, do you have this? Or does dad have this? And then half the time, oh, I don't know. Especially if you don't have like a dad in the picture, a father in the picture, you don't know what you have.
And
You see
that
what I mean?
it even do with, it goes as far as witchcraft. Like, some people have done witchcraft on
That
people.
is true. That is true. I was actually reading a book. Oh my god, I forgot the title. But anyways, um, it was about a girl. Her great 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 grandparents um, is went to, like, I guess it's called like a witch doctor, if I'm saying it right, back in the day.
Hmm.
And they were saying, if you free us, we'll give our grandkids, great grandkids over to you guys. And people don't realize how our ancestors may have actually, I'm not going to say set us up, but have gotten to situations where it falls on us where we may not be able to succeed in life because of their choices that they made.
And Edwina, I have a question. Like, how would you break that curse though? Like, would it be, I've heard about rituals, but they said that there are good rituals and bad rituals, of course, to break it. Do you agree with that? Like, as far as
Um,
the witchcraft goes?
I don't know. I have heard of rituals, but I know from my situation, I would say prayer. You always have to stay prayed up.
Yeah.
Ask God to protect you, protect your family, keep all the evil away. Anybody, because people
I
can.
say prayer too.
Yes, but even when people negative thoughts, when people have negative thoughts, that's a form of, I heard of, a form of witchcraft, because they're thinking on your downfall in one way and they're not supposed to be.
Right.
So for me, I would say always stay prayed up. When you wake up, pray over your family. When you go to sleep, pray over your family, and don't indulge in any negative energy or people that doesn't have your best interest at heart.
Yeah, and I mean, we can when it comes to grown-ups, I mean, we can pray for you, we can pray for you, but I mean, your prayer, your tongue is way stronger when it comes to yourself.
It is, and that's why I go back to when you have to speak over your life. When you say, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper," or "Nobody's going to harm my children," you have to speak life over yourself and your children. That's the best way I can explain it. Is you always speak life, constantly speak life over yourself.
Ain't that the truth? Must remain optimistic.
And affairs
Yeah,
too, though.
yeah, that's
Affairs
true.
have started generational curses as well.
Yeah,
Affairs,
yeah, that's true.
you really have to be careful.
Y'all are really dropping some pearls tonight. I mean, I knew that this was going to be a great conversation and a great topic to discuss, but I think it also just speaks to how much. We're all impacted by generational curses, by situations in bloodline, by the nature versus nurture. And then again, having it come down to you having to have that strength within yourself to maintain a strong mindset, like Dominique said. I mean, if I caved at every opportunity that something really messed up was going on in my life, I don't even know if I would still be here because of just of some of the stuff that I've seen and experienced and had and witnessed and had to go through. But the strength of mind and knowing, hey, I made it out on the other side, is what's kept me going. And then the times in which I felt unsure or doubtful, or I'm questioning myself, I remind myself of, hey, remember that situation? Look what happened with that. And you wound up making it through. And then if I feel like I need additional support, then I'm for sure going to open my mouth and reach out and be like, hey, I'm really struggling with this right now. I'm struggling with this situation and it's making me feel this way. Because silence, I've found that people have a right to maintain their privacy, and that's fine. You don't have to expose your whole entire life and everything that's happened to you from the day you came out of the womb, to the world. But I believe that there is, there's strength in being able to communicate and speak to certain things, and not have to feel ashamed that that's something that you went through. Because a lot of what happens to us, people try to make it the definition of us, and I just believe that that's
Mhm.
false.
But I think that's when I said, well, I say people are afraid of like being judged. This society has made it difficult for people to actually come out and speak up and say, hey, so and so, I need help.
Yes, I agree, Dominic, because as
Social
soon as you say you need
media,
help,
Yeah, yeah.
especially social media when it comes to
Oh yeah.
media.
yes, yes, I agree with that. But Dominic, I was saying, as soon as you say you need help, I feel like people always assume, jump to conclusions. Oh, what's wrong with her? Or if you really need help, oh my God, she's making a scene. No, I'm not making a scene. I need help. Like,
Right.
I'm coming to you. I need help. And I'm not trying to get off topic, but that's why a lot of people commit suicide. And because they'll tell people they need help and they'll just say, oh, they want attention. Oh, they're seeking attention. But it's something they're probably fighting. They're fighting depression, but you just
Right.
don't know about it because you're just assuming this person is just looking for attention, but they're really not. And then when they take their life, they're like, oh my God, I didn't know
That
so and so
was
was going through this. Oh
yeah.
my God, why I wasn't there for them. Well, they were trying to tell you, you made it seem like they just wanted attention at the end of the day, which they really didn't.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And that's why it's so important, like, to let people know, like, if you're going through something, if you have someone close to you, let them know. Like I said previously, everybody is not always strong. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm always superwoman, because I'm not. So there are times where we get down and we think about stuff that has happened in our lives, growing up and stuff like that. And yes, sometimes we need that support.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say this because we're live. If there's anybody that's out there that needs support, need help, or just want to talk to anybody, we have a real chill conversation email. Dominic, if you want to give it to them, you can, but you're more than welcome, guys, to always go on our email and go on our real chill conversation page on Instagram and reach out to us. And we're more than welcome to talk to any of you guys about anything. And we'll just
Absolutely.
listen. We're just
Yep.
we're just be here to be an ear, no judgment over here
No
about
judgment.
anything. Little, even teenage girls, if you want to come out and have a conversation and talk, just let us know, because I know there are young girls and boys out there that feel like they can't talk to their parents. So we're definitely here for you guys as well.
And it's realchillconversations@gmail.com.
So I wanted to ask you guys a question while we are still live here. Kind of switching up, from that last topic we were talking about. So basically, if you, let's say you were, very successful and you are wealthy, would you be looking to save? Well, let me rewind it. Okay, so you didn't start out, you started out with humble beginnings, and then you obviously through the course of your career you became very successful and wealthy. So are you going to be thinking in the back of your mind, okay, let me make sure I save some money for my future and my generation, the generations to come? Or are you just going to be selfish, or just kind of have the idea that, okay, you started from ground zero, so maybe they should have to start from ground zero? Like, what are y'all's takes on generational wealth?
No, I definitely
Ooh.
won't be selfish on it. I mean, that's just me though, not me. I
Edwina, what do you
want to
think?
keep creating that wealth.
I
I
agree.
agree. What were you saying, Natalie?
I was saying, how do y'all feel about generational wealth? Like, some people, they think ahead to the future and they make sure to save for their kids and their kids' kids to make sure that, the family continues to be in the same place that they are, thanks to you. Or would you say, I had to get it from the ground up? So would you expect them to start from ground zero, or what's
No,
your take on it?
no, no, not my kids. My kids will
If the
not.
money is there,
Let me tell you,
the wealth
I'm
is
going to,
there.
I'm going to, I'm going to, I'm going to make a way for my kids to be very successful. My kids are not going to have to worry about college, getting their first car, or anything. And that's why I'm working hard the way I am now, trying to build my own business. So my kids can run my own business one day, and my grandkids can run my business one day.
Hmm.
We're not going to have that where my kids are struggling in college eating ramen noodles and, I'm not going to say bologna sandwiches because I don't like bologna sandwiches. We're going to say peanut butter and jelly. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches around here. We will not do that. Okay? A path will be made for all of my children.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you know what? That's funny because some people say, "Oh, when my child grow up and leave, like, just you got to get out at a certain age."
No, that's not true, Dominic.
And
And let me say, and that's not
they'll
being
start from
spoiled.
zero.
Exactly. That's not being spoiled, because you'll say, oh, you're spoiling your kids. No, you're not spoiling your kids.
No,
You're making a path for your
right,
kids. If I can be an owner of Chick-fil-A and my kids can run it, why not? Why let my kids struggle? What is the
right.
point behind it? What are you trying to get out of it? Seeing your kids struggle? No, that's just dumb.
No, I don't. I would never want my kids to go through what I went through to get to where I'm at. So no.
Agreed. 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 All right. So, does anyone else have any questions? Any other ways to break these curses? Because I definitely feel like that should be, the focus now. How to turn it into something, turning nothing into something, and breaking the curses, breaking the chains, and just, keep
My
striving on the up and
my
up and up.
my own experience, Natalie, and I'll tell everyone else now, it's prayer. Like, I'm a true believer in God, and I know that He can move mountains. So there's nothing that I can't come to Him about. So that's who I go to. That's who I search for, and He gets the job done.
I think that's, of course, Dominique. That is the a number one. That's the source. I think that's also what helps to maintain your strength, because your strength in your faith, is solidified because of that support that you have. And then that puts you in position, I think, to be able to reach out and to help others, to recognize those that might be in need, that may not necessarily recognize it for themselves. From my perspective, and where I'm at, certainly, I'd love to build a significant amount of generational wealth, for my kids. I mean, you see all these celebrities, and their children don't ever have to worry about what it's going to feel like to have nothing to eat but a pack of ramen noodles. But then you have those celebrities who are like, oh, I love ramen. It's my favorite thing to eat. You can have anything in the world, and you got chefs all over the place, but you at home, wanting to make ramen noodles. If we put practices into place, if we are reaching out and touching the community, as I think, way back in earlier episodes and earlier conversations that we've had, that we're interested in doing, I think that that is going to give us the opportunity to make that difference, to help break some of these generational curses and things that are going on in the bloodlines. And instead of people not knowing where they can go, and how they can get assistance, and how they can get help, there's a resource that's here, amongst all of us. I mean, yes, we have different experiences, we have different backgrounds, and certainly some of our ideas are different with some aspects, but overall, ultimately, I think we want to see people be as successful as they want to be and as they can be. And if we can help, push that forward, in whatever way that we can, then I'm all for it. I'm all about, hey, let's do that. I don't know what that looks like specifically. What does that mean specifically? Does that mean we go around to the schools? Do we, email someone in the school department, especially in regards to mentorship, and say, hey, we'd love the opportunity to come in and talk to the kids, and give our selves the opportunity to provide as much insight, and assistance as we can. All of us on here, I know me and Dominique, we love doing some research. So we love doing some research.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and like
Um,
Evelina said, we're here. So,
yes, we are.
realchillconversations@gmail.com.
Yeah, and I was gonna say same thing what Dominic said. Just stay prayed up, and I would say be a better version of your parents. That's what I can say to break generational curses. Be a better version of your parents. If you didn't like certain things that they did, don't do it. Be a better version of them. Um, and that's it.
Well, I would hope that people are in the position to be able to be better than their parents, if their parents have done certain things or handled certain situations in ways that they felt were hurtful and harmful. Um, One of the studies, I remember a psychology class that I had taken when I was in school, and the reason that I took this class was because I was really into it the first go around that I had a chance to take a psychology class, and the psychology class really was a tool to help you understand people, and how people are different, and the difference in personalities, and what certain things mean. And just because someone is quiet, doesn't mean that they're not friendly. Just because someone is kind of loud doesn't mean that they're, not smart and just goofy. People just present themselves in different ways, and a lot of times, people are walking around wearing a mask, a literal mask of who they are, because they're afraid to show themselves to the world for the fear of the judgments and all those things. So if you are in position to know that, hey, uh, both my parents are incarcerated because they liked committing armed robberies. Well, studies show that you're either going to repeat what your parents did and you're going to be out there committing armed robberies, or you're going to be doing the opposite and you're going to study and you're going to go to law school and you're going to work with people that have been convicted, unfairly, or, different things. It's like you either repeat the behavior or you try to get as far away from it as you possibly can. Those are the two definites that you're always going to find.
And
And then you find yourself sometimes a little mixed up in the middle.
but if you feel like, that behavior is just not getting you anywhere, because I don't know if some people do it intentionally or not, but some parents, they support a certain behavior. And if you know that it doesn't feel right, it's not getting you nowhere, my best advice is just to evaluate yourself. And if you have to break away from that, break away from it, run from it. So, Edwina back?
I see her, but I
I'm
don't
back.
hear her. Oh, there she is.
I'm back, ladies. I'm sorry. I went somewhere where it was like a bad signal.
No problem.
Yeah.
So I think have we've addressed what we think is significant and important to understand generational curses and bloodline and things that we can do to make those changes, some of our own individual and personal experiences. Did anyone else have anything that they wanted to add or say or suggest? I know we definitely said, hey, you guys can reach out to us at any time. The Real Chill Conversations uh, email is realchillconversations at gmail.com. We do respond to that. You can go to our Instagram page, which is Real Chill Conversations. You can send DMs there, messages there. That page is checked and will be responded to. So if you are, reaching out and you need some help, someone will definitely get back to you and try to get you through your situation. But we're here, and that's part of what we're about, is having these conversations and having these discussions. And sometimes they're a little difficult and they hit close to home because of some of the experiences and some of the things that we've gone through. But we're here to show you, hey, listen, we made it.
True.
We made it.
And break those chains for greatness.
That's right.
All right, y'all. Well, I think that's going to conclude this episode of Real Chill Conversations. Natalie, thank you so much for leading us off on
Thank you,
this
Natalie.
topic.
Thank you,
Definitely a good
Natalie.
one.
It was a great
Definitely a
one.
good one. Much needed. And can't wait till next week.
And subscribe to Real Chill Conversations. Like, comment, share.
All that.
All
All
right.
that. All right. Bye, y'all.
All right. Bye.